Welcome to the October 2023 committee meetings of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that Council is now web streaming its standing committees live to the internet, and as such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the October 2023 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting, the time being 5:31 p.m. Item IPEC 23/44, Acknowledgement of Country. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the Mother Makatana Jang Maranyan Naramang Tabagawaradi, Wilawaradi, Mangawaradi.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. The next item is IPEC 23/45, election of chairperson. So this is the election of chairperson for this committee, the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee, for the remainder of the mayoral term, which will go through to the 14th of September next year. So I now invite nominees for the election of the chairman, Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee, Councillor Ivey.
I'd nominate Councillor Wright.
Councillor Wright, nominated by Councillor Ivey.
And I second it.
Seconded Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright, do you accept that nomination?
I do. Thank you, Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you. Now, any further nominations for the position of chairperson of Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee? Any further? Okay, there being none, I duly declare Councillor Wright as the chairperson of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting. Congratulations, Councillor Wright. I'll hand the meeting over to you. Any card?
Okay, we're on air. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Thank you all very much, councillors. The next item on the agenda is leave of absence. We have leave of absence at the moment for Councillor Wells. Would someone like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Second, Councillor Goff. Any comments or debate on that item? All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Online, yep, carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, IPEC 23/48, draft net zero framework for council operations, results of public exhibition. All good. No worries. Can I please have someone move that particular item? Thank you, Councillor Black. Seconded by, thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Black, any comments?
Just very briefly, thank you. A lot of good work there by the staff. Thank you for that report. It's just a fact of life that all councils and large organisations are going to have to move towards adopting a net zero framework. And I think the reasons were very clear within that document. Also, it noted that one of our biggest emissions comes from the tip, and not all councils run tips. So Dubbo Regional Council has additional work to do, but if people could recycle as much into their green and yellow lidded bins as possible, that will greatly reduce what goes into landfill out at the tip and help to reduce our emissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other further comments, councillors? We'll just make a comment for such an important document. I did expect there to be a bit more feedback from the public. I know a couple of the committees that I'm involved with council. There's certainly a lot of interest there, but a fantastic and very in-depth report. But nevertheless, some community engagement on that one. No further comments. Move that motion. All those in favour? Thank you. And online, thank you, and carried. The next motion item we have, item IPEC 23/49, is the building summary for September 2023. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report for the Director of Development and Environment? Thank you, Councillor Dickerson, seconded by Councillor Burns. Councillor Dickerson, do you want to speak to that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Yes, indeed, I was actually interested. We did talk about it last month that our extrapolation of the first 2 months of figures for the year had us on track for a record year, which was fantastic, bigger than the biggest year we ever had, which was way back in 2015, 2016. This month, we've seen a decline in some of those approvals that have gone through, but still, again, with the first 3 months, if we extrapolate that out, we're still looking at very close to a record year. But I would be interested to hear any comments from Mr. Jennings, perhaps, in relation to that significant drop-off in compared to the last 2 months of this financial year so far. September certainly saw some drop in numbers, in particular around single dwellings there. So I'd be interested to hear any comments from Mr. Jennings around that particular drop there.
And certainly through you, Mr. CEO.
Jenny?
Thanks. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, there definitely was a drop in this September data here that's in the report as well. Interestingly, just doing a bit of analysis there as well, there's currently 29 single dwellings in the system working through as we speak, which will increase those figures, of course, in the coming period. If you look at also how we fare with the last month when we look over some of the figures over basically 22, 23, it's sort of, definitely not a significant drop, but still I would expect to see some more dwelling approvals moving through the system over the next couple of months as well.
Yes, Chair.
Very good. No further questions or comments regarding that item? Might move that. All those in favour? And carried. Thank you. There are no further items for consideration of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee. I declare the meeting closed, the time being 5:37 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I now open the October 2023 Culture and Community Committee meeting, the time being 5:38 p.m. The first item on the agenda is the election of chairperson, 23/79. Can I have someone please now to nominate a chairperson for the Culture and Community Committee? Councillor Wright?
Happy to move Councillor Goff.
Councillor Goff, nominated by Councillor Wright. Can someone second that, please? Councillor Ivey, thank you. Councillor Goff, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any further nominations for the chair of the Culture and Community Committee? Once, twice, and congratulations, Councillor Goff. You are the chair of the Culture and Community Committee for the remainder of the mayoral term. I'll hand the meeting over to you.
Oh, thank you. So moving on to item CCC 23/80, a leave of absence. We have a leave of absence from Councillor Wells. Can I have someone move that? Councillor Burns, second by Councillor Wright. All those in favour? We've lost Damien. Yeah. I declare the motion carried. Just noting Councillor Marnes. Oh, back. Hello.
Councillor Marr, just for the record, you've voted in favour of granting Councillor Wells a leave of absence.
Agree.
Item CCC 23/81, conflicts of interest. Do any councillors have conflicts of interest to declare? Councillor Burns?
Yes, thank you. Do I stand? Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got a conflict of interest pecuniary, which is CCC 23/84, and I'll have to leave it with.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Mr Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a conflict in CCC 23/84. That's a non-pecuniary significant conflict. I will leave the room when that meeting comes before us. The reason is because I sit on the board of OEC, and OEC have put an application in for funding in that particular grant funding round.
Any other conflicts? Yeah. I also will declare a conflict of interest for CCC 23/85, the Events Assistant Program, as my business has applied or will apply to trade at some of these events. But moving on to item CCC 23/82, report of the Public Spaces Tree Committee meeting on the 13th of September. Can I have a councillor move that? Councillor Dickerson, second by Councillor Ivey. Councillor Dickerson, would you like to speak to that one?
No, thanks, Madam Chair.
Any other discussions or debate? No other discussion. Can all those in favour? Declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/83, report of the Wellington Town Committee meeting on the 4th of September. Can I have a councillor move that one? Councillor Ivey, second by Councillor Burns. Councillor Ivey, do you wish to speak to that motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I thought a good, productive town committee meeting. The minutes there detail the items discussed, but if I might just mention two items of interest that were discussed at that meeting was the possible Dry Stone Festival, which a lady in Wellington who trades as a Stone of Arc, Emma Knowles, has promoted the idea of a Dry Stone Festival in Wellington in the autumn of next year. And she addressed the committee meeting and talked through some of the items. And certainly, on hearing her and her enthusiasm, it did seem to have some great potential. And again, the committee has asked the CEO to liaise with Ms Knowles to see what the status is with that festival and what assistance council may or may not be able to give. And it just seemed that it is a good idea. Evidently, particularly in England and through parts of Europe, these stone festivals are quite an event. She thought that maybe it would attract quite a lot of visitors, a lot of attendees, would run over perhaps a week, and could lead to perhaps the development of some sort of a stone trail in the Wellington district where people could go and have a look at some of the sculptures or exhibits or whatever you want to call them. We have one there already in Wellington. Most people might be aware of Mega Mouse, which was built during the mouse plague, and it certainly attracted. I drive past it actually on the way home, and it's surprising. There's often people there just looking at it. So I think the idea that she has got lots of legs, and I'd like to see whether we can't help progress that. The other item which was discussed, and again, I think anyone who talks to anyone from Wellington will say what problems we have with the public toilets in Cameron Park. They really are totally inadequate, and I think as a council we really do need to look at ways that can be resolved. So there were a number of items discussed, but those two seem to be the most important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other discussions or debate? No. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/84, Community Service Fund 23/24 Round 1, Community Benefit Funding in accordance with Section 356 of the Local Government Act. We've got 2 conflicts of interest. Sorry. And can I have a councillor move that, please? Councillor Wright, second by Councillor Etheridge. Now, there's a couple of conflicts of interest. Oh, sorry. So, Councillor Burns, can you just declare your conflict of interest, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My conflict of interest is with the traditional owners group, which is for applying for funding in this section. And I'll have to declare leave the room. You're okay.
Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll declare a non-pecuniary significant conflict of interest in this particular matter. The group OEC, or Runner Education and Training Cooperative, have made a funding request for $1,000, and I sit on the board of OEC, so I'll leave the room for the discussion of this particular item. Thank you.
Who moved it? Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Sir, I need to declare a conflict of interest also in this one. I have I will declare non-pecuniary less than significant interest because of that Oriscon. I was previously part of the Oriscon, but not anymore. So I'm not leaving the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, only comment on the just the vast array of different entities that applied for that grant. It's obviously rather popular, and with $150,000 available, there's only about a third of that left for the next instalment of that particular fund. One thing I did note, though, that there's quite a number that missed out. A lot of it's to do with acquittals, I see. So obviously just highlighting the importance of fulfilling that criteria. And on criteria, I just wanted to make a comment as well. I know there's it's pretty strict criteria to apply for those. In amongst that criteria, there's 3 points of eligibility, which doesn't seem like a lot, but there's 28 points of ineligibility. So it does clearly state a criteria as to who might particularly fit that. So I know there's often some conjecture about the entities that might receive that money, but certainly pretty strict criteria which staff need to follow, and which I'm happy to support on this basis. So.
Any other discussions or debate? Councillor Black?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move an amendment to this, and that being that everything is exactly the same, just to remove the Dubbo City Turf Club, the flashing light system, and everything else stays the same, and just to delete that one item.
We need a seconder for that one. Councillor Ivey? Would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, just with this one, so we've got the nearly $17,000 there for flashing lights to be placed on Merrily Road. This has come up previously through the local traffic committee, and I'm sure Councillor Etheridge might make comment on that in a little while, but we've got the Turf Club, I know that a lot of people, love horse racing, love greyhound racing even more. Family's been involved in harness racing over many, many years, but what we have here is $17,000 of ratepayers' money, and the Turf Club, although it's a not-for-profit, it does come under the whole Racing New South Wales sort of thing. Now, Racing New South Wales is having a $20 million race in the AJC, or ATC, whatever they are now, in Sydney, $20 million race. There's a lot of money goes around in the whole racing, horse racing industry, and I'm sure that they don't need Dubbo Regional Council ratepayers to be kicking in $17,000 for some lights on the road. I'd just like to be assured that maybe there's probably other funding sources that I'm not sure no doubt would be available. Peter Volandes probably chuck in a bit through his organisation there, but I think that in a cost of living crisis, when I look at that, that really stands out to me as one that probably shouldn't be being funded by Dubbo Regional Council ratepayers, and that the racing industry as a wider whole could be looking at where they could find 17 grand themselves. Thank you.
Any other discussions or debate the amendment? Councillor Ivey.
Yes, I'd agree with Councillor Black's comments, and I'd perhaps just add the comment that that these flashing lights on a public road, and one of the justifications is that that it helps community safety, and I would have thought community safety for a infrastructure on a public road wouldn't be the sort of program that a community benefit fund should fund.
Councillor Etheridge.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This came before the Traffic Committee and it was agreed that they could put the lights up and they fund it all themselves. Now, I don't know, I agree with Councillor Black. I don't think it should be, that money should go to them when there's probably another more deserving community or organisation that could use that money, when the agreement was that that the Turf Club would pay for it more themselves. Thank you.
Any other discussions or debate on the amendment? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, as per my comments previously, I'll vote against the amendment. And the only reason I say that is just looking at the criteria that Council has set previously regarding ineligibility. I'm just unable to find any particular ineligibility criteria for that particular item that's requested. So I know we sort of set criteria for a reason, and I we don't want to stray outside that criteria. But I just can't see anything from an ineligible perspective that would lead me to vote against that particular item. So, yeah, my comments there. Thank you.
Any other discussions or debate on the amendment? Councillor Mann.
Yeah, I probably concur with Councillor Wright. There's no ineligibility context, and I do believe that community safety, it's been highlighted that they have some near misses, etc., along that road. Now, whether this is the right funds to pay for that out of, I would have hoped staff would have considered that. But as far as I would have to vote against the amendment because I think it's a worthy commitment. Thanks.
Councillor Ivey.
Just a question. I noticed one of the ineligibility things is that the body should not be a sporting body. As I understand it, horse racing and things is a sport. Does that not render them ineligible?
Question to the CEO.
In our council context, so they're not part of sports council where most their traditional sports are. So in that, not in our organisational context, I understand there's references and cliches to do with this, with horse racing.
Sport Kings.
Yes, but in our organisational context, we don't consider it a sport.
Any other discussions or debate on the amendment? Does the mover want to write a reply?
Just a question, please.
Okay.
In the ineligibility criteria, it's got here has my own numerals. Now I've lost the one. I was trying to work out the. It was about self-fund. Here we go. Number 14, XIV. Applicants in a position to self-fund the project or activity. How did that go with the Turf Club in that position? Were they not in a position at all to? I know that's one of the criteria that's been looked at, but I'd find it maybe a bit odd. The Turf Club, they have a lot of big horse racing meetings and other events there that they wouldn't be able to find $17,000.
Just throw it to Mr. Arms.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Black. So, as part of the
application process, don't like the capacity to pay isn't part of the application process as such, although you've clearly identified that it is an eligibility criteria, that value judgment around that. The assessment criteria itself is based around 4 criteria. In short, it's around community need, sustainability, the capacity to complete the project, and the provision of a meaningful and detailed budget. So it's those 4 things, as well as in combination with the eligibility criteria, sure, that lead to the recommendation that you see before you.
How do I do this? So I'm just throwing it over to the CEO, Mr. Wood.
So just in terms of the Councillor Black raising local traffic committee, I might just throw to Mr. Ryan, who can just read out the actual resolution, because it was subsequently endorsed by council, regarding this infrastructure for the turf club. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. This did go to Traffic Committee on the 1st of August, and then subsequently went through to the ordinary council meeting. I'll just read out the first part of the recommendation that was endorsed. So it was the council approval be granted to the Dubbo Turf Club for the installation of flashing lights and horse warning signs in Merrily Road, subject to the Dubbo Turf Club being responsible for all costs associated with the supply, installation and ongoing maintenance of the flashing lights and signs. So I think that's probably just a bit of a key point to understand for this discussion around eligibility and who should foot the bill for that.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any other discussions or debate? Or Councillor Ivey.
Can I just ask a question then? In view of that, that the turf club funded completely, would it be correct indeed for the council to indirectly fund it by providing the money to this turf club so that they could fund it? That would seem to be circuitous and actually incorrect.
A little bit philosophical in terms of where you are. So they can go for a grant to get the grant to then fund it themselves. But yes, if you look at the council resolution of the traffic committee, you would argue if you agreed to fund the club, it could be an argument that you're going against that previous resolution, which you can do, because you remind me when that council meeting was. Hang on just for a second. August, yep. So you can, because it's beyond 3 months. So you can still award it the grant, but that has been the resolution of the council previously.
Councillor Mann.
So just to that point, how does that cross-reference if we've got a grant such as this request come through? Is there any sort of process in the grant making that they have to consider council resolutions such as this case? A good example, really.
Through Madam Chair, it's probably highly unusual. You don't normally get things going through a traffic committee with that type of recommendation, then a community group or community-based organisation going for a grant. So I'd suggest it's come to us this way as a bit of an outline, haven't come at that as an issue to resolve before. So something for us to consider in terms of approving guidelines in the future.
Councillor Wright.
Just a comment, and it's a pretty grey area. You know, the way I see it is that those funds aren't coming out of council's general fund to fund a piece of infrastructure on that road. You know, talking about a totally different allocation of funding to meet another criteria. So I can see the synergy, I guess, that Councillor Ivey has sort of hinted at there. I guess my perception of it is they're 2 different streams of funding, albeit at the end of the day out of the same bucket, but 2 different streams of funding considered as 2 separate, 2 totally separate stages in time, I guess.
Any other comments or debate on the amendment? So I put the amendment. All those in favour? And against? I declare it lost. So back to the original motion. Can I?
No, so you've got the move, that's all gone. You've had an amendment move. So now they've made comments and questions on the amendment.
Yep.
There hasn't been much debate from recollection on the actual motion, if at all. So now, because it was only the mover, so people can now either make comments. Once they've made one comment, then they can ask lots of questions because this is as formal as a council meeting.
Councillor Wright, would you like to make comment on the motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Only that going forward, that council, I guess, consider those previous motions that may have been passed in committee meetings or any other meeting, I suppose, that might influence these types of decisions. Certainly, it's created a bit of a grey area for councillors in this particular instance. So, probably the only additional comment I'd make. So.
Any other comments or debate? Councillor Black.
Thank you. Just a question for you, Madam Chair, about the Arana Broadcasters DCFM application, and it says full funding to assist community volunteer service to be able to keep broadcasting during emergency situations and reduce impact on equipment. So we know that ABC Radio is designated by the federal government and, as emergency broadcasting. Is that the case with Arana Broadcasters Inc. or DCFM? Are they a government recognised emergency broadcaster? Thank you.
Put the question through to the CEO.
No, the emergency broadcaster officially is the ABC local radio network.
Any other comments or debate? Councillor Ivey.
Perhaps a question as much as anything. As I understand it, one of the applications there for Binjang Community Radio was not recommended because of a problem with acquittal of earlier funding. I understand, not sure whether it's correct, that there is some confusion, or it may be perhaps some misunderstanding of the status of that acquittal, which I gather is being sorted out almost as we speak. If it's shown that in actual fact there wasn't an outstanding acquittal, is there any opportunity for that particular application to be reconsidered, perhaps even before the committee meeting, before the council meeting in a fortnight?
Through to the CEO.
Yes, ideally, if someone has that view, they would contact the council staff, and we could bring that new information to light. As you know, this doesn't make a decision at the committees. It's a recommendation to the full council. So if someone wants to bring that forward to the relevant council staff team, that could all be considered. We provide that information leading up to the council meeting, certainly. Thank you.
Councillor Wright.
And just following on from Councillor Ivey's question there, should Binjang be unsuccessful in this round of funding, I guess my questions are then, when is the next round of funding, noting that this is the 23-24 financial year and there's still around $49,000 left, and so A, when is that next round due, and B, can they reapply for that should they meet that criteria in this same financial year?
Through to the CEO.
Mr. Arms, I'll throw to Mr. Arms.
So there's two rounds which make up the community services fund, both $75,000 each. Our current round has a rollover from last financial year as well, which gives us the extra amount. So I've actually got 75,000 remaining for round two, at least from memory. Yeah. So the second round is untouched at this point, and so there's some ability there for us to address any inaccuracies in the acquittal process should that be.
Any other comments or debate? Councillor Black.
Just another question for you, Madam Chair. With the Turf Club funding for the flashing lights, community safety for all road users, horses and cars on Merrily Road, is there any scope for the Turf Club to apply, or council to apply to Transport for New South Wales for the funds to install that vital piece of safety infrastructure? Thank you.
Through to Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The horse warning signage I'm not aware of, but can certainly chase it up and have the information ready for the council meeting.
Any other discussions or debate? Okay. I have the motion before us. All those in favour? All, you good? And all those against? I declare the motion carried. Can we get back Councillor Paul? Yeah. Fine. No. I assume. Yeah. Bugger off. Item CCC 23/85, the 2023-2024 Event Assistance Program. Can I have someone move the motion? Councillor Wright, second by Councillor Etheridge. I will declare a conflict of interest, a pecuniary conflict of interest, and I will leave the room.
Thank you, councillors. So we've got CCC 23/85 moved and seconded. Councillor Wright as a mover. Do you wish to speak to the motion? Sorry, Councillor Shower.
Yeah, I need to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant because I helped Strattown multicultural event and cross-cultural event, both some volunteer help, but I'm staying in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Showery. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to that motion?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Again, like the last item, a pretty diverse range of events on there. I guess just a bit of a shout out to the team within council or the committee that decided on where that funding was to go. 10 applications totaling $26,500, and I see that there's the 10 applications who all bar one received an amount of money. So tough job to distribute that money evenly amongst those particular applications. So great to see that there's a lot of interest in it and some very diverse events in our region.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Absolutely, and it's quite fascinating, isn't it, to see some of those different ideas and events. Other comments or questions, councillors? No. Now I've lost Councillor Mann again. There we go. We've found him again. Thank you, Councillor Mann. Any further comments or questions from anyone? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Can we get Councillor Goff back in, please?
The next item in the Culture and Community Committee is a confidential item. No. Yeah. I ask for a councillor to move a motion to defer this to the end of all the committee meetings. Councillor Ivey, second by Councillor Wright. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Reid.
Madam Chair, I move to defer the confidential item CCC 23/86, which is the 2-year partnership proposal, Western Sydney Wanderers Football Club, to the conclusion of the Corporate Services Committee meeting.
Second by Councillor Wright. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. This is the end of the Culture and Community Committee meeting at 6:10 p.m.
Thank you, councillors. I now open the October 2023 Corporate Services Committee meeting, the time being 6:11 p.m. The first item on the agenda is CCC 23/79, the election of the chairperson for the Corporate Services Committee for the remainder of the mayoral term. I now invite nominees for the election of chairperson. Councillor Ivey. Councillor Chowdhury, nominated by Councillor Ivey. Can I have someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any other nominations for chair of the Corporate Services Committee team? Sorry, for the Corporate Services Committee, not the team. Going once, going twice. There being no further nominations, I duly declare Councillor Chowdhury the chairperson of the Corporate Services Committee for the remainder of the mayoral term. Councillor Chowdhury, given the fact that you are remote, I assume you'd like me to continue to chair the meeting on your behalf?
Please do.
Okay, thank you, councillors. First item, CSC 23/54, leave of absence. Have someone move a leave of absence for Councillor Wells, please. Thank you, Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Goff. Discussion or debate? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CSC 23/55, conflicts of interest. Any conflict of interest, councillors, for any item on the agenda? No. Moving on. CSC 23/56, report of the WA Regional Livestock Markets Advisory Committee. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Burns. Councillor Etheridge, do you wish to speak to that?
Just briefly, it was a very good meeting. As usual, very productive. We certainly get some goals kicked out of that committee. It functions well.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? None, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CSC 23/57, report of the Financial Performance Committee. Can someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Goff. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to that?
No, not on this instance. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CSC 23/58, Service Review Program Update. Does someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Goff, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. And I will ask Ms. Kumar to give us a brief presentation on this particular item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the committee. The report before you tonight, and I'd like to acknowledge my colleague Zara Jom, who is our Corporate Strategy and Performance Coordinator, for the work that she's done in compiling this report and overseeing our service review program. We thought we'd just talk through a little bit of the report. It is quite a lengthy report and contains a number of things, including an update on service reviews that have been implemented, an update on the reviews that are still underway across the organisation, the proposed program for 24 and 25, and then Zara's going to talk about the framework that's been proposed. I guess I'll start, with a brief introduction regarding the sort of service reviews that they were introduced through the Local Government Act, through our integrated planning and reporting requirements. And whilst they're required to be undertaken. The guidance that's provided through the Act and through the office is very general and it's intense. And I guess the organisation's been building our capability and capacity to undertake service reviews and determining how we want to undertake them at Dubbo Regional Council. And we've had some great success. And I think it's important to note that service reviews are always centred on finding value for money for ratepayers. So they're not necessarily about rationalisation. They may be about investment, but it's a great opportunity for us to look at the organisation in line with the services we're providing to our community, and sense checking that are we providing what community wants us to provide? Are we providing it in an efficient and sustainable manner? And are there other ways that we can deliver that service? Our approach to the service reviews, which is included in the framework, and this is a reference on the reported tables as well, is essentially we look at three things. So the first one is the what. So this is where we might look at what we're actually doing in the organisation, a process or a defined service delivery area. The second level of a service review is the how. So this is about how we're achieving. So this looks at our delivery structures, key processes, where benchmark performance, post-project learnings and the like. And the third level, which is probably the more sort of contentious service reviews, or certainly largely draw a lot of resources, is the why we are doing. So this is where we might examine some full functions or service areas in the context of the challenges and opportunities to really consider should this be a space that Dubbo Regional Council is in. So I guess with that sort of brief introduction, I'll talk quickly to an update on the service reviews that have been completed with the organisation that are listed in your report. From page 16, no, sorry, that's the draft program. Let me skim back up. Crazy. Sorry, my documents just went a little bit crazy there for a second. Yeah. Okay. So referring to the report on page, sorry, I'm just going to stop using this. So in regards to the program that we've actually implemented, Council's been undertaking these. Some have been delivered internally and some have required external consultancies. We've completed a number of reviews. I think the things that I would call out in particular, the subdivision planning approval process. This was actually a level 2 review, but the outcomes of this review was really listening to developers and examining the full end-to-end process of how we're dealing with subdivisions. It's actually revealed a lot of operational ways that we can improve that process, but also looking at how things are handed over from division to division, and it's really delivering some great results that will ultimately mean better services for those customers, which obviously supports greater economic development in the region as well. Obviously, the aquatic facilities review was a big one going out to contract management. The library services review has recently been completed. Council's been provided that, and the team just proposed their implementation program to the Audit and Risk Committee last week as well. And the business continuity with the water and sewer operations, a lot of work happening in that area, in particular in regards to structure, but also IT infrastructure that's been updated as part of that review as well. And obviously water is an essential service we provide, and we want to ensure that we're doing that in an appropriate manner as well. Going on to the second part of the report, the service reviews that are currently underway that are expected to be delivered before the end of the financial year. We have the livestock markets, which is currently underway. We've got the community committees, which Council will get a report on that one to the ordinary Council meeting of October. And we also have the Wellington Caves one, which is underway and being undertaken internally, and that's expected to get to the December Council meeting. There are a number of reviews that were proposed in the initial list that Council considered early last year. and they've been accounted for in either operationally sort of considered, or they've been proposed to the new program. So going on to the new program, which is provided there for council's consideration. This program's been developed in consultation with executive staff and through the CEO, considering the priorities as he understands them from the elected body as well. So that proposed program covers a diverse range of services, mainly at a level 2 review as well, but the organisation is confident that we can resource those. There might be one that's probably done with some consultants, but the outcome of those reviews will help inform service delivery designs or decisions or improvements as well, which is important. And as listed in the report, obviously the outcomes of the financial sustainability review, which is currently underway as well, may very well identify some services that council may look to prioritise the review of or include, which will help, I guess, fill out that program to cover the 24-25 year. I'd now like to hand over to Zara to, I guess, talk briefly around the service review framework that's actually part of Appendix 2 in the report tonight.
Sorry. Thanks, Tash, and through you, Mr. Chair. A brief introduction on the document. In wanting to set a really solid foundation for our teams who will participate in, support and undertake service reviews, we've developed this framework, which is attached to the report and begins on page 19 of your business papers. As Tash mentioned, we're really focused on the DRC approach to these reviews to build a strong level of consistency and maintain the integrity of the process across the undertaking of reviews and the program itself. The framework sets out the best practice for reporting in addition to our standard reporting requirements as part of the IPNR reporting guidelines, which will see some regular reporting on the progress of the program at an executive staff level and also to our Audit Risk Improvement Committee, and then obviously through to council. Individual reports on the more substantial service reviews, those ones we level at a number 3 and potentially some by exception 2 may also be presented as well to council through separate, project or service managers as well. Following council endorsing the framework, the intent is to finalise a handbook for staff, a practical toolkit style handbook and reference guide. It will include all the elements of the framework as well as copies of the templates, best practice guides and additional references and resources. It will also be quite a live document that will continue to refine as the organisation matures in this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John. Anything further, Ms. Coomer? Happy with that? Questions or debate, councillors? Any further discussion? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. I will note that Councillor Mann has left the meeting at this stage, so he's gone for the rest of the meeting. Next item, councillor, CSC 23/59, investment on Section 625 of the Local Government Act. Have someone move that, please. Thank you, Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Goff. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CSC 23/60, Draft Council Policy Code of Meeting Practice. Results of public exhibition. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Black. Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. No further items for consideration of the Corporate Services Committee. I declare the meeting closed at 6:24 p.m. And now there is the one confidential item, which I'll get the chair to come back for, but I'll just close off the web streaming first, Councillor Goff. So web streaming has now been completed. Thank you for your attendance. Please stop web streaming.
Council returns to open session at 6:28 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the Manager of Governance to read out the resolution of the confidential section.
Item CCC 23/86. Number 1, that given the low economic return and the high financial risk to council, that it not accede to the proposal based on the current hosting fee structure. 2, that at no cost to council an offer be put to support the communications and marketing of Western Sydney Wanderers Football Club's club engagement activities and school holiday clinics to help bolster awareness and attendance at clinics and coaching sessions held in 2023/2024 and 2024/2025. 3, the council continue to negotiate with Western Sydney Wanderers Football Club to secure fixtures over multiple years that will attract a greater return on investment.
There are no further items for consideration of the Culture and Community Committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 6:29 p.m.